All the opposition leaders there on your screen, all of them now facing the heat of the ED, and there are many more in the firing line. In fact, those are our big questions. Which opposition leader could fall next? Are we heading for an opposition mukt or a corruption mukt Bharat? Anti-corruption drive or washing machine politics? Does ED only function in opposition-ruled states? All of this, of course, coming against the backdrop of the final session of Parliament that's begun today. I'm joined at this moment by Sudhanshu Trivedi, the BJP's MP and one of their top spokespersons. Sushmita Deb is of the Trinamool Congress. Jaiprakash Narayan is founder Lok Satta, which works on corruption issues. And Ami Yagnik of the Congress. Thank you all very much for joining me at this moment. Let's get in reactions from all of you at the moment. And you know, Ami Yagnik, it's your government there in Jharkhand. I want to understand from you, Ami Yagnik ji, do you accept that the ED doesn't go into a case like this without some prima facie proof? You don't arrest a sitting chief minister unless you have prima facie proof. So Hemant Soren can't simply claim that I'm being made a scapegoat.
Well, I think you have seen in the past the way the agencies operate, and practically the trials are run on the television. We don't even know what are the charges, what is the agency having any material, and we are also seeing a pattern where the agencies are practically, I would say, after people who are in the opposition. Suddenly those cases one day finally come to an end, and we find that the washing machine has operated. So I think it is too premature to give answer to all this. I think the facts and the path that has been going on for the last couple of years speaks for itself.
No, ma'am, I'm asking you a simple question. When a sitting chief minister is arrested by the Enforcement Directorate, surely they would not go into the case unless they've got prima facie evidence. The opposition's first instinct is to say, this is BJP's washing machine politics, or the BJP is misusing ED. But in most of these cases, almost all these cases, the Supreme Court or the High Courts have not thrown out the ED's case. In fact, in most cases, many of the politicians continue to remain in jail. So the question is, do you concede that there is a prima facie case? Yes, the ED could be extra active, hyperactive in opposition-ruled states, but there is a prima facie case, ma'am.
Well, I think I cannot say anything unless and until where you say the word evidence, but the evidence cannot be at this stage. It can be some prima facie material, or something on record in order to for the agency to go after somebody, whether the person is the chief minister or whether the person is a sitting minister in the union government or anyone. But there might be some material. We do not know what the agency has, but it cannot be termed as evidence because it has to pass through the crucial test of the court. Then it becomes an evidence.
You know, I want to bring in Jaiprakash Narayan at this point because at Lok Satta, Jaiprakash Narayan, you've called for cleaning up politics. Some will say this is a way of cleaning up politics. Yes, opposition leaders are under the scanner, but the government is cleaning up politics. You're mute, sir.
Rajdeep, that there is ubiquitous corruption in the country is widely known. But the problem is twofold. On the one hand, investigative agencies are very cavalier. And you take 2G spectrum, one of the most widely discussed cases in the country. Was anybody convicted, Rajdeep? After all that hullabaloo? There is no question that mischief has happened. May not be on the scale that the CAG talked about. And it may not be corruption that is proven, though we all assume. But the irregularity in allocation, the malafide is very clear. That's why I, along with many others, went to Supreme Court and got them cancelled, the 122 licenses. And Supreme Court gave an order mandatorily ordering competitive bidding. But is there any conviction anywhere? So the problem is, on both sides, a cavalier approach to rule of law from the governing party or the investigative agencies, and a certain permissiveness, a casualness, a sense of impunity on the part of the people who actually are guilty and very often of corrupt behavior.
Right. You know, Sudhanshu Trivedi, we had planned today to focus on the relevance of Parliament, and I'm going to come back to that because today the last session of this 17th Lok Sabha, which you are a member, starts. But the images we are getting from Jharkhand today have almost taken over what happened in Parliament. The Prime Minister says that he wants the opposition to work with him to allow functioning Parliament, but it also seems that the same government is targeting the opposition. So the opposition says, "Humko to ghera ja raha hai. We cannot function inside Parliament, we cannot function outside Parliament. Bahar jao to ED hai, andar jao to sarkar hai."
Rajdeep ji, those who are trying to accuse us that they are being targeted, and just before joining you, I have heard that Ami Yagnik ji was talking about the pattern. So in this context, I would like to remind, राजीव जी, एक फिल्मों में डायलॉग होता ना 20 बरस पहले की बात है, तो मैं कहना चाहूंगा 30 बरस पहले की बात है. Going back 1994, this is the first instance in which the Supreme Court of India has accepted, and it was decided that a government survived by bribing the member of parliament. Congress government of P.V. Narasimha Rao bribed the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha bribery case, JMM bribery case, in which it was proven that 3 members of parliament taken money and voted in favor of them. Was there any BJP at the time? Or I think none of us have heard the name of Modi ji or Amit Shah ji by that time. And the second instance which is going on, Shri Lalu Prasad Yadav ji, 27 baras pehle ki baat hai. He went to jail in 1997 when Janata Dal was there in the government and with the outside support of the Congress party. So those who have proven guilty by the court of the law 30 years back and 27 years back are trying to put the blame game post 2014, यानी पर्ची 2014 के बाद फाड़ने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. I think people are wise enough to understand what is the pattern and what is the background. And with due humility, I would like to ask, ये जितने भी political parties हैं, can they name a single year before 2014 in the last 30-35 years? If there is any single Lok Sabha in which their leaders have not been accused of corruption or Janch agency or court ke chakkar na kaate ho, from Bofors of 86-87 to P.V. Narasimha Rao, who has been accused in numerous examples, JMM bribery case, from disproportionate asset case of Lalu, Mulayam, Mayawati and 2G, Colgate, everything. So their politics itself is an epitome of corruption.
So you're saying
and
that,
you're saying
their politics, Sudhanshu ji, you're saying their politics epitomizes corruption. But what about the cases where BJP leaders in the past have been accused of corruption, or when they switch sides, suddenly the corruption cases go? You remember Yediyurappa, serious corruption cases were there against him. You remember Hemanta Biswa Sarma, the BJP itself made corruption charges against Hemanto when he was in the Congress. Suvendu Adhikari, Ajit Pawar, Chhagan Bhujbal, all of these are examples. So therefore, the washing machine argument comes. What you say about corruption in the past is well taken. But what about today? What about the fact that ED seems to only operate in opposition states? आप मुझे कह रहे हैं कुछ नहीं होता मध्य प्रदेश में, कुछ नहीं होता हरियाणा में?
Rajdeep ji, you have raised a very appropriate question. So I would like to reply. Against any leader whom we have put an allegation, we still say that if we was doubt, allegation is there. You cannot name a single leader against whom, after our government has came, we have withdrawn the case or we have finally closed the case. No example. On the other hand, the example is, I would like to remind, Rajdeep ji, aapko to bahut अच्छे ढंग से वो instance याद होगा. 2008, nuclear deal, vote for cash time. At that time, when Mulayam Singh Yadav came to the rescue of UPA-1 when communists have withdrawn support, and within 2 months CBI withdrew the case and final closure has been set down. Sir, this is an example how the agencies have been misused. You remember in PAC on the 2G scam, when the report was going to be submitted, when Dr. Joshi was the chairman, the 3 parties which have subverted the report, SP, BSP and DMK, all leaders have got their charges diluted or withdrawn within 2 to 3 months. Can you quote a single instance? We were having allegation and we still say that we are having doubts, so investigation is going on. But the problem is on the contrary. ये लोग कहते हैं कि अजीत पवार के टाइम में कोई करप्शन नहीं हुआ, आज कहते हुआ. ये कहते हैं हेमंत शर्मा के टाइम में their official stand of the government.
सर आपने बड़ी अच्छी पॉइंट सर एंड में
official stand is
आपने बड़ी नहीं सुधांशु जी, you are an excellent spokesperson. You made very good points except the last one. Last में आपने कहा अजीत पवार को ये कहते थे बिल्कुल साफ सुथरे मेरा सर इन जून नहीं सर इन जून ऑफ 2023 प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी कॉल्ड हिम करप्ट
आप समझ सकते हैं
सर प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी सेड दैट अजीत पवार सेड एनसीपी एंड कोऑपरेटिव स्कैम में अजीत पवार का नाम है अब नाउ आई सी दैट कोऑपरेटिव स्कैम केस सीम्स टू हैव गॉन अंडर द रेडार व्हेन इट कम्स टू अजीत पवार सवाल तो उठता है ना यू सीम टू बी टेम्पटिंग पीपल टू स्विच साइड्स सो दैट दे आर देन इन द वॉशिंग मशीन आज अगर हेमंत सोरेन आपकी पार्टी के साथ जुट जाते would you have arrested him?
अब मैं पूरी बात मैं करूँ सेंटेंस पूरा होता देन यू वुड हैव गॉट द आंसर
जी जी
सर हमारा वर्ड ये था कि आरोप है प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा आरोप है हमने आरोप से हम पीछे नहीं हटे इनका कहना था ऐसा हुआ ही नहीं है They said nothing of this sort has happened. Everything is clean. Now they are saying everybody was corrupt. They have become the self-proclaimed champion of giving the corrupt certificate to their own government. Now ask them, do they consider that the government was corrupt? Then they will say, no, 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 no. But now since they have switched over the side, so I say that the government, our government was corrupt. So they have caught in the dichotomy, not us. We said there is an allegation and we have still not taken them out of the suspicion of the allegation.
Interesting because, you know, Sushmita Dev, what Sudhanshu effectively ji is saying is effectively this. When Suvendu Adhikari was Mamata Banerjee's close aide, then he was doodh se dhula hua. Moment he's joined the BJP, you are reminding the BJP about his corruption cases. It seems, you know, I keep using these words. I've used it now for 30 years in journalism. Hamam mein sab nange hai. So therefore, when a Hemant Soren gets arrested, there is no sympathy for Hemant Soren. Many believe there are very serious charges of land grabbing, of irregularities when it comes to coal allotments.
See, Rajdeep, I want to tell Sudhanshu ji that I was in Meghalaya and Amit Shah ji was campaigning there. And in his campaign, he said that NPP and Conrad Sangma's government is one of the most corrupt governments. And as soon as NPP came to power in Meghalaya, the two members of parliament, MLAs of the BJP who won in Meghalaya, wrote a letter to Conrad Sangma saying, we are giving you support for the government. And let me tell you, I am myself witness, so I don't need to, look back on some reported incident. I was sitting in the central hall and Sarbananda Sonowal ji gave me a booklet in my hand where that booklet with a BJP sign said that Hemant Sharma is guilty of taking bribe in the Louis Berger case. Sarbananda Sonowal ji, minister of the BJP, gave me that booklet and within months, Dr. Sharma joined the BJP and no one heard of it. So I think one thing is selective prosecution.
But Sushmita ji, the public wants anyone who's corrupt to be put in jail. The fact is you can fight your political battles. Are you defending someone? Are you saying the ED has no case against an Abhishek Banerjee in your state or today against a Hemant Soren? Are you saying koi case hi nahi hai? There's no prima facie case. Is that your argument? Or is your argument that the moment they switch, everything turns they are ruled non-corrupt? What is your argument?
If the Bharatiya Janata Party or any agency in the country is serious about corruption, then it is very hard to believe that they can't see any corruption when it comes to the Bharatiya Janata Party. It cannot be sheer coincidence that the only evidence or tip-off or prima facie case that they can make out has all opposition leaders. Let me add to that. I am witness in Assam of all the syndicates that are going on there, but the ED will not even look into it. No BJP leader is raided to even look for evidence.
No, have you filed a complaint? Have you filed a complaint? Have you filed? Okay, do you have evidence when you say that syndicates are running Assam? Can you file? Why don't you file a criminal complaint?
Let me tell you. Let me talk to you as a citizen of India. Is it my duty to keep filing cases in Supreme Court and High Court? Why should I? Who's filing a case against Abhishek or anybody? Let me tell you something. You cannot put the onus on me, opposition party, vis-a-vis an agency which is bound to do its duty, irrespective of whether I file a case.
Point taken. Your point is taken. And Sudhanshu ji, you need to reply. She's giving the specific example of Assam. She says there are syndicates there which are corrupt. There have been corruption allegations against Hemant Soren. After he's taken over as chief ministership, nothing happened. ED doesn't go there. When Basavaraj Bommai was in Karnataka, there were serious allegations of alleged 40% being made on land deals. No one went to Karnataka. I gave you the example of Ajit Pawar. I'll give you the example of Chhagan Bhujbal.
And Conrad Sangma.
Okay, what? You gave the example of Conrad Sangma. The question, Sudhanshu ji, is this. Fact is, are you telling me the Enforcement Directorate of this country has no work in BJP-ruled states?
Yes. I will reply. I will tell categorically there is no case was registered against Hemant Biswa Sarma. In one case in which we were having allegation, I would like to remind, after he joined BJP, he appeared before a CBI in Kolkata. It has not happened. There is no case specific against him. But the case in which he was likely to be inquired, and he was inquired, but I would like to remind, sir, during your tenure, none of the cases were...
Sushmita ji is talking about syndicates that have come up after he has taken over as chief minister, sir.
मैं उसी पॉइंट पे आ रहा हूं सर, आपको पूरा आंसर मिल जाएगा। आपकी सरकार के जमाने में एक भी इंक्वायरी आपकी गवर्नमेंट ने नहीं स्टार्ट की थी। इन एवरी स्टेट वी वेंट टू द कोर्ट, वेदर इट इज 2G, Colgate or everything. Even the cases in which Sonia Gandhi ji and Rahul Gandhi ji is on bail, it is the case registered on the instance of Delhi High Court in 2013 October. But why you are not going to court? And type of frivolous cases which you try to put on our leaders, from the so-called Babri demolition to the Hindu terror, successively they were demolished by court, and you are unable to even put the charge sheet in the court. So मैं आपसे कह तो रहा हूं, अगर आपके अंदर है तो कोर्ट जाइए, हमारे खिलाफ केस कर दीजिए और इन केसेस को विड्रॉ करवा दीजिए, जैसे हमने किया था। पर आपको पता है, it is very easy to discuss on the television channel rather than arguing on the court, even arguing on the floor of the house.
Okay.
You floor of the house, you substantiate your argument and then put forth the facts.
नहीं, अगर देश के गृह मंत्री, if the Home Minister of India on a microphone is saying that Conrad Sangma is corrupt, then you need me to file a complaint. Why doesn't Amit Shah ji take action? इसका जवाब दीजिए, जहां देश के गृह मंत्री बोल रहे हैं कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट सामा करप्ट है, सबसे करप्ट गवर्नमेंट है। आप मेरे से उम्मीद करते हैं कि मैं कोर्ट जाऊंगी? What does it say about the standards of zero tolerance that Prime Minister Modi talks about?
Yes, Sudhanshu.
क्या?
Yes.
सुष्मिता जी, आपने शायद सुना नहीं ढंग से। मैंने तो आपको बहुत क्लियर कट कहा। I have clearly said we have neither withdrawn, neither put a closure report on any case. Like in your case, the moment they supported, closure report filed. मतलब disproportionate asset था, now the disproportionate asset was not there. That's why I am saying quote a single instance in which we have withdrawn the case. और CBI put the final closure report. ये होता है जो आपने कहा था. And again I would like to reply. Rajdeep ji, you remember that in which case Supreme Court has said CBI is the case parrot? On Colgate, it was a clear instruction of Supreme Court that this affidavit will not be seen by a political executive. But CBI said that it was called by Prime Minister office and it is seen. Sir, this is the case which has been proven in the court of law, from JMM bribery case to Colgate scam. Here, we have neither withdrawn nor put closure report. If allegation is there, it is continuing there. But you are saying that there was nothing of this sort happened. You said officially there is nothing of this sort like Sharda happened. Now you say Sharda happened. So we are unable to understand what your stand is.
Okay, Ami Yagnik has been waiting patiently, as a Jayaprakash Narayan. But Ami Yagnik, the distinction Sudhanshu Trivedi and others are drawing, they are claiming that in the cases that they have filed, it was the BJP itself which took up Colgate. It was BJP which drove 2G scam. And the fact is that at least for that period of time, there was no question of those cases being thrown out by the court of law. Those cases were not thrown out by a court of law. In fact, irregularities were found, particularly in the way coal allotments were made. People were arrested. So therefore, let the law take its own course. If you have nothing, if Hemant Soren, for example, has nothing to be scared of, he shouldn't be absconding, not attending, not attending ED's interrogation.
Yes, so law will take its own course in this case also, but I think the spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party is saying that he mentioned the names of Sonia Ji and Rahul Ji. Of course, they went before the agency. They were questioned for several hours and a couple of days or several days, and they cooperated, and all documentation is there and everything is there. Nobody has gone away from the law, and everyone is before the law. But why is he all the time bringing up cases where the procedures have ended? In the 2G, there has been acquittal. There is nothing on record to show that there was this kind of a scam. So I think he is living in a past, but he doesn't speak a single word of which washing machine he has. And when there are glaring examples of all the names you took, and there is enough evidence even in public domain, I think why is he not speaking about that? And what is that washing machine that suddenly you become the law, you become the judge, you become the justice system, and everything else is subverted? You do not put them before the process of law. Suddenly they are in your party and you protect them as if nothing has happened. So he has to answer to that question rather than bringing up cases and instances of 1990, 1980, 1970. So I think he should speak about the present washing machine and also the poaching system that you take away people from other parties. You have not been able to create leaders of your own. In fact, the BJP is also taken away by the Honorable Prime Minister, because you know Vajpayee ji and Advani ji created the party. That party is practically taken away by them. So he has to answer to these very crucial points which I am making, rather than going back and forth.
You're making a washing machine argument. He's making that there are skeletons in your cupboard which have tumbled out over the years. But Jayaprakash Narayan, I watch your face. You're amused as you're listening to both sides. As I said, ये public है, ये सब जानती है, और I hope that they know. No, you see, 1 minute. Jayaprakash Narayan ji, there will be those out there who will say, we want anyone in public life who's getting away with corruption to be held accountable. So if the Enforcement Directorate is hyperactive at the moment, so be it. Yes, it needs to be the same for all states, but the public out there doesn't seem to have a problem at the moment if the Enforcement Directorate arrests Hemant Soren today or arrests some other opposition leader tomorrow, so long as there is a prima facie case.
Rajdeep, people have become pretty inured. They don't believe that in the political parties there is freedom from corruption. Yes, individuals are honest. Even today in every political party, there are men and women of genuine integrity. But as a system, I think we all agree that there is phenomenal corruption. First, there is a rule of law issue. Normatively, we have a rule of law. All our discussion is based on the normative rule of law. But the reality is, police and prosecution are entirely controlled by the government of the day. Mostly state governments, because in 98% the rule of law is in states. Only 2% at the national level. Because in India, under the constitution, the whole crime investigation is entirely the state subject. Police and prosecution are totally politically driven. They're appointed by the politicians, removed by the politicians, controlled by the politicians. The forensics are extremely weak in India. Even in Delhi city, in a very well-known criminal case, it took 365 days, 1 full year to get a DNA analysis done. Our procedures are extremely dilatory. Our courts are both lacking in capacity and competence. Unless there is a commitment to actually bring about rule of law in all these 5 segments systematically, this abusing each other, blaming each other, it's nice political theater, but doesn't change the country. The second short point, corruption is driven by illegitimate money in politics. Even in the Northeast, I'm told that 30-40 crores for a parliamentary election and appropriate amount to correspondingly by ratio assembly is not uncommon. And I live in Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. 30-40 crores per assembly constituency per candidate, major candidate, is pretty common. Now, unless we address that through political reform, blaming each other doesn't really help. Vajpayee as Prime Minister used to say every other time, look, we all start our political careers by uttering a lie, signing an affidavit that we spent the money within the ceiling limit, but we have to change it. We are not even discussing it honestly. All right, ruling party doesn't talk about it. What about the opposition? Why are you not raising issues?
Now you make very good points about electoral reforms, police reforms. I've just got Mallikarjun Kharge's tweet, Sudhanshu ji, and I want you to hear it. जो मोदी जी के साथ नहीं गया वो जेल जाएगा. झारखंड के मुख्यमंत्री श्री हेमंत सोरेन पर ईडी लगाकर उनका त्यागपत्र देने को मजबूर करना फेडरलिज्म की धज्जियां उड़ाना है. पीएमएलए के प्रावधानों को ड्रकोनियन बनाकर विपक्ष के नेताओं को डराना धमकाना भाजपा की टूल किट का हिस्सा है. एक तरह से पूरा विपक्ष कह रहा है कि दे आर बीइंग घेराउड. Every day some opposition leaders getting summons. This is part of the BJP, according to the Congress president, opposition Mukt Bharat. Fear, bring in fear, intimidation.
In response to that, I would like to say to Kharge ji, Saab, from our younger age, we have come into the middle age. Keep watching Lalu Prasad Yadav ji, jail going and coming out, going and coming out. Now you are saying, putting the blame on Modi ji. और मैंने तो बता दिया ना 1994 में शिबू सोरेन जी जेल चले गए थे इसके ऊपर. तो खड़गे जी पहले सोच तो लें कि वो बोल क्या रहे हैं. And forget about the others. If there was one instance in which an ex-prime minister has to appear in court of law after leaving the post, it was P.V. Narasimha Rao in 96-97 when we were not in the power. If for the first time an allegation was there on the prime minister, it was Rajiv Gandhi in 86 जब बीजेपी 2 सीटों की पार्टी थी. तो जनाब खड़गे जी आप कह क्या रहे हैं पहले ये तो देख लीजिए. एलिगेशन भी आपके जमाने की, कार्रवाइयां आपके जमाने की, जेल जाना आपके जमाने का, मगर इल्जाम हमारे जमाने का.
नहीं, क्योंकि इल्जाम आपके जमाने पर हो रहा है, क्योंकि जो फैक्ट्स जो हो रहे हैं कि जितने भी ऑपोजिशन, ऐसा लगता है करप्शन केवल ऑपोजिशन में है कि बीजेपी दूध से धुली हुई है. ये कहीं ना कहीं दैट परसेप्शन इज आल्सो देयर. व्हाइल द परसेप्शन इज देयर कि कांग्रेस के कबर्ड में बहुत स्केलेटन्स है, दैट परसेप्शन इज देयर. बट परसेप्शन ये भी है कि यू आर यूजिंग द ईडी, यू आर यूजिंग पीएमएलए टू इंटिमिडेट द ऑपोजिशन, व्हिच इज आल्सो नॉट गुड फॉर डेमोक्रेसी.
वन मोर थिंग आई वुड लाइक टू पुट फोर्थ. देखिए इसमें टेक्निकल चीज अलग है, मैं मॉरल का जवाब देता हूं. अगर इंटिमिडेट करने से ही कुछ होता, राजदीप जी, द एंटायर अपोजिशन वॉज इन जेल इन इमरजेंसी अंडर द ड्रैकोनियन लॉज लाइक मीसा इन विच यू कैन नॉट इवन गो फॉर प्ली. जॉर्ज फर्नांडिस जी के हाथ में हथकड़ी लगा के सड़क पे चलाया गया था. एंड यू नो बाई हाउ ह्यूज मार्जिन ही वन फ्रॉम जेल, 3,54,000 or शायद 3,74,000,
yes,
which was a record in India till that time. And none of the Gandhi family has won till 1980 3,74,000 from the jail.
Sir, but why bring emergency? We are in 2024.
The judgment of
Sudhanshu
the
bhai,
democratic values.
Sir,
That's
we are
the
in
problem, that you
2024.
should have a
Forget
moral
about what
authority.
Congress did. वो तो इंदिरा गांधी को वोटर ने पनिश भी किया 77 में.
नहीं, मैं जो कहना चाह रहा हूं वो ये कह रहा हूं कि जो लोग कहना चाह रहे हैं, नाइदर दे आर एबल टू अप्रोच द कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ एंड प्रूव देम इनोसेंट, नाइदर दे आर एबल टू सस्टेन इन द कोर्ट ऑफ पब्लिक. जस्ट दे आर कीप ऑन पुटिंग एलिगेशन एंड डिस्पाइट द फैक्ट दैट देयर कैरेक्टर इज वेरी dubious since last 2 or 3 generations, at least when we were in the school and college. From there, the so many allegations are there. तो इसलिए मैं कहना चाहता हूं, कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ, कोर्ट ऑफ पब्लिक एंड द इंटायर बैकग्राउंड. So their present allegation seems totally flimsy and baseless.
You know, Sushmita Dev, you have 3 of your 3 MC ministers in jail. You have others under the scanner now. You see, therefore, nobody is coming into this debate with clean hands. If you came into this debate with clean hands, Sushmita, you could take the moral high ground. This is the problem of this country at the moment. This entire debate is coming with unclean hands. The skeletons of the cupboard of the previous government and the allegation that the BJP is misusing the ED.
Rajdeep, let me put it this way, that if there is corruption happening, okay, then there is an investigation, it goes to trial, the courts will decide, and like Mr. Narayan said, the conviction rate of the ED is extremely dismal. So one has to look at that all the people who are dragged through, it is the process that is the punishment. That's the way the ED has been used. If you enter a questioning of the ED, you forget about having the constitutional protection of not being self-incriminating. If you don't give them evidence written on a paper, they tell you you're not cooperating and taking you to jail. That's a separate issue. Let's not get into it. But all I am saying to answer your question is, if your standard and your attitude to corruption is the same towards anybody who's corrupt, irrespective of their party, then in that case, there is sufficient matter out there in the public domain where BJP leaders can be corrupt, can be investigated. A Karnataka MLA before leaving says Yedurappa ji is guilty of doing a COVID scam. He talks about the price of the masks that have been bought in. Should the ED have not looked into it? Should the ED have not looked into it when two MLAs crossing over from Bengal to Jharkhand are caught with 50 lakhs cash and Dr. Hemant Sharma's name comes up? Did the ED as much as ask a question to him that your name is coming up in this? Nothing. So it is selective prosecution that I am against.
No, so there is your argument is selective prosecution. Their argument is prima facie corruption. You see, there are these two debate arguments. The simple point, as Jaiprakash Narayan mentioned, is police reform, electoral reform. The manner in which the police doesn't seem to be independent, in this case the ED, that Sudhanshu is the real question. Agar Sudhanshu ji, if the BJP is serious about rooting out corruption, make the agencies independent of any political pressure. Unless you do that, you're going to have these charges of selective prosecution being made time and again. जो भी सरकार है अब ED या कोई भी agency को हाथ में, the caged parrot is now was CBI in the days of the Congress. Now many are saying it is the Rottweiler in the age of your government.
Rajdeep ji, when anybody says this puts up the premise that those who are the representatives of people will not be honest, but those in the bureaucracy will be honest. Then they will say it will come the police raj. Matlab, you are demolishing the basic premise of democracy, that the people's representative cannot be considered impartial, but those who are working in the government will be considered impartial. I think they should look into it. And one more thing, I would like to ask what Mr. Narayan has said about the electoral reforms. Sir, we have done this. During Vajpayee government, we had made compulsory to give declaration of the assets for all those who are filing nomination. In Vajpayee government, we have further strengthened the anti-defection law, which was during the Rajiv Gandhi time was brought 1/3, 2/3. In Modi ji's government, we bought electoral bonds, and we also reduced the cash taking limit from 20,000 to 2,000. अदरवाइज याद है आपको आम आदमी पार्टी कहती थी 20,000 रुपए की चाय पिलाएंगे, क्योंकि 20,000 रुपए तक आप किसी का नाम बताए बगैर कैश ले सकते थे. तो दिखा दीजिए कि 10,000 लोगों ने चाय पी और कैश में एडजस्ट कर दीजिए. नाउ वी हैव रिड्यूस्ड टू 2,000. So it is the BJP government which has consistently tried to put the reforms in election.
Sir, when I was in Telangana, I found cash though is still flowing. In fact, is flowing in even larger amounts in election. But Jaiprakash Narayan, the pressure on political parties. JMM is a small party. Sudhanshu ji mentioned how in 1994 they were caught in a bribery case when Narasimha Rao was Prime Minister. Smaller parties, regional parties, seem to be particularly prone because they need the resources to fight elections. Everyone needs resources. The common trend, Jaiprakash, seems to be that political parties desperately need resources to fight elections. Once they come to power, they use their short period in power to get as much resources as possible. Is that the real problem? That's why a Hemant Soren today, who knows someone else tomorrow, is under increasing pressure because they desperately need resources to fight elections.
The size of the party does not matter. The small party is there if you contest in a few constituencies, big party in larger constituencies. The region matters. Telangana election for the assembly probably cost about 8,000 to 10,000 crore rupees. Telangana constitutes only about under 3% of the population of India. 8,000 to 10,000 for the state assembly. Andhra Pradesh election, which is due in the next few months, probably is going to cost about 10,000 crores for the candidates and the parties. So in some parts of the country, things have gone out of control. We require political reform. Sudhanshu ji is right, but it's not enough. We have to do real big things. But to just go back to the question
give me one example of a big thing that would give you a sense of confidence that the Modi government is serious about taking on corruption.
there are two things that we need to do. One, I am convinced now, unless the electoral system is changed, unless we move from the first past the post system to another system where by bribing the voters you don't get a political advantage, unless you alter the incentive, like proportional representation with certain caveats. Given the Indian conditions to give stability, you can give bonus seats to the party that gets the largest number of votes. Unless you move the goalpost, existing framework, it's almost impossible to now change in the very short term.
What's your second point?
The second point is, if demonetization, however badly done, was well-intentioned, let's presume. If only they had ensured that the real estate reform takes place so that you bring down the capital gains tax of union government and the stamp duty of the state government and correspondingly ensure that the guidance values of the land reflect the real market value, there would have been no need for cash economy in the real estate. A very simple reform where you don't have to pay more taxes, government will not get less revenues, and people wouldn't need cash.
So you're saying real
because
estate...
where is the cash parked?
Okay, you're saying the real estate, in fact, is the source of much of this corruption.
Yeah, it is where, no, I don't have the cause of the corruption, but it's where the money is parked.
Yeah, okay.
How else is it parked?
Point taken.
And one small rejoinder to what Mr. Sudhanshu Trivedi said. I'm a great champion that democratic legitimacy must be respected. I agree. You cannot allow the elected governments and legislatures to be ridden roughshod, but not in crime investigation. You cannot say Britain, America, Germany, Japan, France, Australia, they all don't have a democratic legitimacy. In every one of these countries, the elected governments do not control crime investigation. There is an independent but accountable process. There's no one person. I'm not saying police chief should be the boss. There is a way of creating independent prosecutorial board. There is a way of creating other bodies.
So you're saying you need an independent prosecutor, truly independent agency.
And investigative board. Now, I have seen in New South Wales in Australia as part of the Administrative Reforms Commission, how in an intricate way they built systems of independence and accountability.
I take
Unaccountable thing, I don't agree. I entirely
take your
agree
point,
that if you give too much power to police, it becomes, no, India is a system of compensatory errors. A very eminent former Chief Justice said that to me, and I agree with that. There's distortions of one branch or one individual are separated by distortions of others. Therefore, when you upset the balance, you must be very careful. I'm a very, very cautious man.
I take
I'm
your
not
point.
One of those radical reformers
I take your point. Your point is well taken. Sudhanshuji is wanting his hand up. 30 seconds, Sudhanshuji, your final point.
On this reform, we have to look much deeper. Rajdeep, the corruption doesn't come alone. It has having 4C. The casteism, corruption, communal politics and the criminal politics. What happens, sometime caste become the cover. I remember during our younger days, शिबू सोरेन ने क्या कहा था? उन्होंने कहा था हाँ मैंने 1 करोड़ दिया तो क्या हो गया? दिल्ली में बड़का आदमी 100 करोड़ ले लेता, उसका कुछ नहीं होता. मैं सीधा साधा ट्राइबल 1 करोड़ ले लिया तो मेरे पीछे पड़ गए. मायावती यूज्ड टू यूजुलाइज एंड देन सम टाइम ए कम्युनल एंगल. साहब वो आजम खां के खिलाफ कार्रवाई नहीं हो सकती बिकॉज इट विल बी कम्युनली फेयर अप. देन कम्स द क्रिमिनल एंगल की अतीक अहमद और उन पे नहीं हो सकती. सर वी हैव टू सॉल्व ऑल द सीज टुगेदर because in Indian context, Mr. Narayan, it is not Western society in which the caste communal crime is connected with corruption. Okay. So we cannot isolate any of the C.
Okay.